with that whole approach. I think that he's the deal, and obviously we have to talk about this general manager. That's the biggest transfer poll the whole year, Ice.
That's the biggest free agency get.
Yeah, I talked to Coach. I texted him and he goes, "Thanks, Mike. Best portal recruit in Bonnie's history." Wojciechowski, now the general manager coming from the NBA. And I just saw it this morning. It's like, listen to this. I mean, you can only dream of this. I mean, he has 6.5 million followers on Twitter, and now that many people are seeing stuff about St. Bonaventure basketball. Like, it's amazing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the notoriety, and we're seeing this more, right? It's just more teams and places that are investing into, football, basketball, is general managers. Coach, my question for you, though, is, for Woj, like, what is the best role that he can play on this team as a general manager?
I think that he can be really helpful in scheduling because there's a science to scheduling, particularly in this league where you want to get to that top 1, 2, or 3. So if you don't get the automatic, you get consideration, and a lot of it has to do with who you play, where you play, when you play them, and the idea that also alumni and former player engagement. I'm telling you, when you go and close that door as the head coach, you sometimes lose your way because there's so many things on your plate. If I was to hire a general manager, I would ask them to help me in those 2 areas.
Let's take a look at kind of what to watch for the St. Bonaventure men's basketball team this year. We're talking about the addition of Woj as the GM and their experience and their fan base and everything that's happening. What about on the court here? Okay, 10 newcomers. There's a lot of experience, but that's what we said earlier when I talked to Coach Smith about it. It's like, you can't just be like, hey, we have a ton of experience and these guys have played college basketball a long time. Not with this program. And when you're under a Mark Schmidt-led program, you know this all very well, Coach. You got to be aware and be ready for everything. He's got a lot of sets, a lot of different things, out-of-bounds plays, scouts everything about the opponent. I mean, he's buttoned up about it. And if you're not buttoned up, you're not going to play.
Mike, no one in my history of coaching, no one has more plays. His playbook is enormous. So I scratch my head when I talk to him as a friend. I'll say, how are you going to do this? And how have you done it with so many new players year after year after year? Because you are right. They might have 40 variations, Ice, on out-of-bounds plays. It is just, they're impossible to scout. And I would just like to one day just go watch a practice for maybe a stretch of time. Walk in there one day and just watch. How does this evolve over time? And this is another team that will get better in February and March.
Absolutely, right. That's the thing. How quickly do these newcomers get it, right? Whether they're a freshman or whether they're a transfer experience or not, do they pick it up and are they going to be in the system and ready to perform on the court?
None of these kids have played for as detailed a coach as Mark Schmidt.
That's a really good point. Women's basketball side of things for St. Bonaventure.
Yeah, I think it's a rebuild year. They went 1-17 last year in conference. For the Bonnie women, they're bringing in 6 freshmen and 3 junior college transfers. I love the addition of junior college transfers because it's the same thing. You're getting players with experience. Maybe they haven't come from situations where there was as much pressure, and so they're able to take their level and their game up to another level, and you're getting a new role, right? Normally, you're a junior college transfer. You're transferring in, and you're expected to be the leader, to be seasoned, and to go and get some buckets. And so I honestly think for Bonaventure women, what they need to improve on this season is pace. They have to score the ball a little bit better. I thought at times last year they were just frankly too slow. Improve rebounding and then the physical play. What I like about this team offensively that I did see when things looked good was the consistent ball movement. That's going to be key for them. The more that you can move the ball, if the ball is the fastest object on the floor, it makes it hard for everyone else to defend you.
Energy, mindset, everything with a buzz around that campus. I mean, that's got to help. I know that's not going to just make someone a better player, but it's always good to have that kind of around you as you enter into a new season.
Yeah, I think so. I think the more eyeballs, the more audience, right? The more people that are talking about it. It's like all publicity is good publicity, right?
Yeah. We take a look at the rankings here for the men, and boy, I think this is one that they're going to say, oh, well, we'll see about that. Preseason number 10 for St. Bonaventure on the men's side, 14, to your point, out of 15 on the women's side, based on needing to be rebuilding. But That's a very scary pick if you know I'm watching this team, because we saw what they did last year. They were challenging for a top 4 spot, Coach.
Yeah, there's no question, and this is another one of those places in the Atlantic 10 where you can almost go in and write their home record, right? They're not losing more than 2 home games. So if you dominate at home, but here's the separator. Good teams in college basketball win. Great teams in college basketball win on the road. So Mark Schmidt and his crew win on the road, and they'll move up the rankings to being a great team in the A10.
It's a team that's had some pretty good non-conference wins too over the last few years, and some of those early season tournaments as well. So if they can pick up one of those, you talked about scheduling. I mean, hey, we know how hard it is recruiting and how important recruiting is. I would say, and I've heard coaches say this, that scheduling is right behind it, okay? And at least it's not like football where you got to schedule a team 7 years out. Hey, we don't have that luxury anymore because we don't even know what we're going to have. So when you schedule, Coach, and when you were doing this, like, when can you, like, how early do you schedule? How late do you want to schedule? Like, and how important is that, you know, to having a successful season based on what you know you have coming in, or no, you know?
Well, I think you schedule to your league. So if your league has a pressure, like the Shaka Smarts, that period of time at VCU, I always wanted to play a team or scrimmage a team in the preseason that would play that kind of style. You have to win on the road. So you can't be sitting there saying, you know what, I have to play 16 home games, or it's not going to work. You want to put yourself in situation, and then the third part of it is the MTE. Ice, for me, the MTE was, let's give these players an experience that they may never get. Now, so many young players travel and but how about if you can get to go to Maui, like Dayton's going to Maui? How about if you can get to go to Florida? For the kids from Bonaventure, that's like Christmas.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know one year I played in Balfour, Atlantis, in the Bahamas, Cancun Challenge, and also with a lot of those tournaments, good competition, right? You're having to face back-to-back very good teams from different leagues, from different conferences, Power 5 or mid-major, but you also can do it on an island. My type of tournament, my type of tournament.
Not bad. And the MTE, think about this. The MTE allows you to prepare for your conference tournament. No other time during the year do you play back-to-back-to-back days, but in the MTEs you do.
Yeah.
That's why they're important for building up how you're going to play the conference tournament.
Yep, very good point. All right, we're going to take a timeout. We'll come back. Well, actually, no, we're going to keep it right here. Getting ready for the press conference, by the way, for men's and women's for St. Bonaventure as we continue on. But yeah, and listen, I think the weather it hasn't been as bad, to be honest with you. Like everyone's like, oh, only in New York. It's like, listen. It's not as bad. Like, I don't think we had that many snowstorms as much last year. I mean, you're going to get a couple, but again, it's one of those destinations, Phil, and nice as you know, is that, like, it may be a little harder to get there, but once you're there, you know how special it is,
basketball.
so you want to go there.
It's
almost
basketball.
it's like the SEC in football. It's like, oh, it's so hard to get there. Yeah, but you're at the SEC. Like, the stadium's got 50,000 or 100,000 people. I'm not trying to equate that. I'm saying to St. Bonaventure, but it's one of those destination places, fan base environment. That's why they have the ability to be successful year after year.
Yeah, I think it's similar to my experience at Syracuse, right? Like, there's nothing else up there.
Right.
You know, you're in upstate New York. There are no other professional teams. I think there's a local hockey team, but you have to focus on the college athletics, right? And so it makes those eyeballs much more because there is nothing else but for us to come and watch our games.
Correct. Let's hear from Mark Schmidt now for the St. Bonaventure men's basketball.
We have, like I said, 10 new players. You know, it's an adjustment. It's what college basketball is in today's world. We're trying to get to know each other, trying to teach guys our philosophy, our culture. So, you know, things are going well so far. We haven't lost a game. No one's got hurt, knock on wood. Noel's done a really good job. He's one of our captains of leading us, showing the younger guys. Even though, you know, we have some juniors and seniors that we got out of the portal, they still don't understand Bonaventure basketball, the culture, the community, and Noel, we're lucky to have him to be able to show the guys, you know, what it's like to be a Bonaventure student athlete.
Thanks, Coach. Open up to the media questions.
Mark, given given how many new faces there are, how difficult is it to establish or reestablish or define an identity, even for a program like yours that has had one for as long as it has?
Yeah, I think 3 years ago, when we lost our whole team, we didn't have one guy coming back. So at least I have a little bit of experience in doing this. But it's still, I think you win with veteran guys. You win by building a program. Now it's like you win by building a team for this year. And I always relate it to European soccer, where you rent players. You know, and in essence, you rent players for 7 months, and then, you know, some come in and they want to leave because they're not playing. Some kids want to leave because they're getting paid more money. It's a challenge, but at the same time, it's the rules. And if you don't adjust, you know, you're going to die. So, you know, you may not like what's going on, but you've got to make the most of it. And I think we've done. I think my assistants have done a really good job of bringing in guys that fit Bonaventure basketball. Now it's our job, or my job is, and Noel's job is to build the culture, to make sure kids are playing together. It's not, you know, I think the portal sometimes creates selfishness, where kids are transferring to a certain school, one, because of money, or two, because they think they're going to be the man. Now, as a coach and as a leader, we got to get everybody on the same page. And it's not we and us, me and I, it's we and us. So that's our challenge, trying to get kids to buy into how to win. And you can't win individually, you got to win collectively. So that's the new era of college basketball, and that's the challenge that, you know, every head coach has, or most head coaches.
Mark, you have another tool in the toolbox in that regard, and the general manager that just came on board your program, and you talked about European soccer a moment ago, and so much of that and the ability to attract players is a matter of perception, not just results, and I wonder how much things have changed even in just the last few weeks for you guys in that regard.
Yeah, we're really lucky. You know, Woj is, you know, transformed sports journalism. And he loves St. Bonaventure. We've worked together for years, you know, behind the scenes. Woj has so many relationships that I couldn't build, or we couldn't build as a staff in the next 30 years. And, you know, he's the general manager. It's you know, it's what a lot of schools, especially high major schools, have. So it's, you know, his job is to raise money for our collective. And Bonaventure is a small school, so there's donor fatigue. We can't go after the same people over and over again. We got to be creative and find new streams of revenue, and that's one of the challenges that Woj has. The relationships that he has, not just nationally, you know, with agents and general managers and player personnel directors, but internationally, and everybody knows him, you know. So it's a home run for Bonaventure, you know, in terms of basketball in our program, but in terms of just our school. You know, that day that he announced that he was resigning from ESPN and joining Bonaventure men's basketball program, we couldn't, you know, for 24 hours, we couldn't have paid for that. It's the most exposure we'll get probably in the next 50 years. So it's, like I said, it's a grand slam, and we're lucky to have him, and he's going to do a phenomenal job for us.
So Noel, to follow up on that with sort of your perspective, I wonder what was your reaction when you heard about Woj becoming your sort of GM, and what's it been like for the players to sort of have that, and if you've had any conversations with Woj?
My reaction is, first off, I was excited. I was excited for the opportunities it would bring. I was especially grateful for this year just being able to connect with someone like Woj, but honestly, I was very excited for those who are going to come after me and like the future of the program. Kind of the stuff the coach has mentioned, Bonaventure is a smaller school, and the way NIL and stuff is heading, you do have to have a lot of sway and pull power when it comes to donations and stuff. And I think it's a great way for Bonaventure to be able to keep up in the future with kind of NIL and the way it's moving. Woj is a very powerful student. I think I've met him, talked to him. He's a great person on top of that. So I think, honestly, like, it's great for me, and I'm grateful for the blessings that will come from me, but I'm honestly thinking it's great for the program in the future, just a way to be able to stay and compete in the NIL kind of culture and the way things are moving, for sure.
Hey, Noel. Abe Rothstein, WRGW. So, of course, your 2 years starting down here at GW and then going to Bonnie really broke out last year in the A10 tournament. Can you just talk a little bit about, what's gone into your breakout and what are your goals for this season?
My goal for this season are just to build. The way they work with me at Bonnie's is truly amazing. They just break down the game for me and they consistently work with me. They're always in the gym with me, making sure I'm able to see the game in different ways. Last year, just for the whole year, it was really just trying to stay as ready as possible and just on some personal stuff. Like I was really playing for my mom and stuff. She was ill at the time, and it was just like one of those things where I really knew like I could give all the effort, and she was like proud of me regardless. So, and honestly, that chip just stays on my shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Like she's proud of me regardless, and like that gives me the freedom to just keep working. And these guys honestly help me work. So.
Noel, Zach Weiss, Pittsburgh Sports Now. I want to ask you about what Coach Schmidt said about being a leader. How much of an honor is that for you, and how has that experience been for you leading these men and shaping these men on this team?
I can't even put into words, to be honest. It's weird. It's not emotion that's coming out of me right now as I'm talking about this, but like it's truly like what I enjoy out of this sport. The impact and honestly, just like the way they're able to like listen to me and like look up to me and like the way they're able to like look at me being an example is just what I work for and like what I work on myself for. It's the opportunity to me is priceless. Like there's a whole bunch of guys around me who are insanely valuable, insanely talented, and it's like I can't really even like put into words like the opportunity. I'm just grateful. Like I love leading these guys, and I love that they're letting me lead them. I appreciate it 100%.
Okay, that looks like that's all we have the time for questions. Thank you, Noel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good luck
you guys
this
so much.
season.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, you can see it. We were talking about there's a lot of buzz around the St. Bonaventure men's basketball program, that's for sure. And, now is it going to translate onto the court? If you talk to Coach Schmidt about it, right, Phil? I mean, he's like, this is all great. He's focused on getting his
Woj
team
must
ready.
be going to average a double-double. The way we're talking about him.
Rebounds or assists.
He was the
Right.
most talked about person all morning here.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a double. Could it be a triple-double?
Could it be a triple-double? I don't know. Woj is one of the best out of the best. I wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But on all seriousness, though, I love how well-spoken Noel Brown is, but how he spoke about the impact that Woj is going to make on this program, right? Not just for him currently in the eyeballs, but also the future of the program and what it's going to mean for this team. He just spoke so well, and you could tell he's so bought in to the culture that already exists there.
That was a beautiful, beautiful segment. I'm so delighted that you brought that up. Like, if you're out there, if you're a Bonaventure fan, it's one thing. You're an Atlantic 10 fan, it's one thing. But if you're a college, you want to know what's good about college basketball, there it was right there. That he talked about others and not himself. That's a beautiful statement by that young man.
Yeah, and that comes from the leadership, too, with Mark Schmidt and what he's done for the 18 years, or now 18th year that he's leading this program. Third winningest coach in the A10 behind Fran Dunphy and Chris Mooney, and has just done a phenomenal